morning. Me and Strata.
Oh, you did?
Sorry, I was on mute. I said, yeah, we had a great conversation. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Tell us.
No, I will. Yeah, I think. We will talk about some of the points I think that we mentioned, but because I think also like there are a lot of new people here. We should give them some context. Like, okay, 2 new people at least. 3, 4. No, 3. Yeah, it's 3.
I don't know, maybe even more.
Maybe more. Yeah.
Welcome, guys. Good morning.
Wait, who all out here were DevCon? Only you, right, Stella?
I think.
Did you?
Chris, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
No, nice.
I didn't see you yesterday though. Where did you go? Like, where did you hang out?
I talking about the machination session.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I was just quiet.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, good morning, Ratio.
No
Okay.
worries. Okay, cool. I think let's start. Is that okay for everyone? Because like we have a lot to discuss today. It's gonna be really juicy. Hope you're all like in for the ride. Okay, right. Let me. God, I need to buy a new mouse. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. Give me a second. I don't have 2 screens, so I won't actually be able to see you. So don't be angry with me if I don't see the chat, right?
Would you still be able to record?
I wanted to start with B money, but okay, I'm not going.
Okay, that's a spoiler.
Insider joke. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do this.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to Visual Learners Study Club, session number 5, with your hosts, Rohan Mehta, also known as Roro, and me, Stella. Okay. Yeah? You want to take this?
No, I'm just saying that this is also the last session for this module, which is great. And Stella, me, and I think even Strata got our certificate yesterday for the first module. Yeah.
Very big, big relief that we know that we're learning something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go. Stella, you're taking this?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so just a fair warning to everyone, we're recording those sessions, right? So this is your warning. Get out of here if you don't want to be on it. Just kidding, please stay. Okay, first, let's go quickly through the agenda. We have planned for today to welcome the newcomers, so we're gonna guide you a little bit where you can find all the information. And we also would like it if you could quickly introduce yourself. So if you're able, unmute yourself when you're called up on. Otherwise, like if you don't have a mic or something, it's like totally fine to also write a little bit in the chat. Governance and Capital by Joe Monegro will be our big topic today. I hope you all watched the video, read the article. We're gonna break down for you the key concept, or what we figured were the key concepts. Afterwards, we quickly go through the exam questions. And and then it's like all about exchanging thoughts and impressions about what you've read. So yeah, that will be fairly it, and then we will tell you what we're gonna plan for next week.
Also, we could open up the discussions in the middle too, because it's not very well structured this time. So we'll just talk about things, our ideas.
Yeah, sounds fair. You're right. Okay, so I guess we want to know, who are you? So if you're new here, please let us know like your name or your handle, with whichever you feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable, also where you're located, what's your background, why you're here, and what are your expectations. If you can make a wish for the Visual Learner Study Club, what would it be? Probably only a thing you can tell us after having like been part of the session for once at least. Yeah, so I'm gonna unshare, and I'm gonna be picking up everyone here. So Sui, I believe, is very new. Sui, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, hi. Oh, wait a second. I also turned my camera on.
Oh,
Can you
that's
hear me?
nice. Yeah.
Hi.
Good morning. Hi, Sui.
Good morning. Hi, nice to meet you. I finally made it to her session, even though I wanted to join you at the very beginning, but it was like colliding with with my schedule. So yeah, I'm really excited to join and curious what we will learn today. And yes, and maybe I have a wish later when I finish the course here. And where am I located? Originally in Berlin, but right now I'm on Tenerife.
Okay. And what's your background? Do you want to share? Oh, did she hear me? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Maybe, okay.
No problem,
Yeah.
Sui. Okay, I'm just quickly thinking. Space Wolf. I think Space Wolf is not new. Good morning.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Yaro. I'm based in Boston in the United States and bright and early here, but excited to join some of the groups here. And I work in the investment field, so I'm an investor in traditional assets, and I'll be leading our research efforts in crypto in my firm starting next year.
Oh, lovely. You'll be able to add a lot of ideas here then, at least for this one.
Hopefully also learn from everyone here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Who else
thank
is
you,
there?
Space Wolf. I think it's a pre. I think pre hasn't been around before, but I hope I'm not wrong.
That's actually my friend from Bombay.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Hi, pre.
Hi, Pri. We can't hear you though.
Let me see.
You can type it on the chat if you're unable to.
Yeah, I think his
your
microphone
mic
is not
working.
connected as far as I see.
Yeah.
Had we had Pilo here before? Just making sure. Good morning,
I don't
Pilo.
think so. Can you unmute yourself if possible? Okay.
Oh,
hello.
Pilo
Okay.
is typing. Okay,
They're
hi,
on
Pilo.
chat. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Just type it out. We just want to get to know you better. Yeah, take your time.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. Just
Also, let's do the picture until then. Like we could actually get our videos on, so we can take one picture of the group. It's nice to see everyone's faces.
Yeah, it's true.
Dude, Trust, Tata, everybody.
Yeah, take the time. Put on your camera. It's picture time. Woo.
It's so odd to see my face mirrored. I don't like it.
Okay, are we good? Like, who else is gonna? Oh, look at this. Pilo is like,
Hello.
me too. Okay, this is great, guys. This is a great turnout. Hi, Kat. Okay, I'm gonna take the picture and 1, 2, 3, smile.
Okay, nice.
Very good. You're released from your duty.
We missed. Okay, yeah, we got everyone. No, never mind.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay, let's get started. Whoop.
All right, let's go.
Pilo. Yeah.
I was asking you a question before. And I'm going to introduce myself later.
Okay.
I have the link of the course. I have the previous link, the old one with the first module, but then I have the new one. So I went there, but I can see the content, but not any links.
Stella, could you show it on your screen? Like if you go to tokenengineering.net? Yeah.
That's actually the next step. I wanted to show you guys how you can get to access the course now that it's like officially online. Okay, let me show you. You see my screen, Pilo? Yeah? Okay, cool.
Okay.
So
hold on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So actually we should pin the post today. So if you go to Visual Learner Study Club, the channel that we usually communicate in, right? This one on the sidebar, right above the voice channels. Then up here where it says pinned messages, it's like this little pin button. You can see the last pin that Boro did, right? It's like all of our links and also the course link. So you can click on that, engineering.net, and then you say get started, right? And here you will find all the courses and all the modules, to be precise. It's not one course, but all the modules. And so you can
thank you, Risha, for the link.
Yeah, so you can click on the Fundamentals Module 1. Sorry, I think my internet is really slow. And so I have already enrolled, but for you, it would say enroll. You have to click on enroll, right?
I did that, Estela, but I even have a profile.
Yeah.
With the photo and everything, but I just can see just the content, but no links to the content.
Oh, that's
so
weird.
I don't know if it's my I don't know if it's my navigator, my.
Are you using Chrome? Are you using Chrome?
Yeah.
Then that shouldn't happen.
So
just check if your pop-up blocker is on, because it opens up in a new tab or window. Maybe it's blocking the browser.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna check again.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Because this is how it's supposed to look like if you enter the module, right? And then you get all the links.
Also, guys, we can actually do the exams since we have all the questions from the last ones too.
That might seem fair because some people just joined. Give them like 2 weeks.
Right.
Come on.
Okay. No, I mean, no, not today. I mean, I'm just saying like everyone should be doing it now. Like we should be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, Stella, let's get started.
Okay, let's get started. Okay. So I cannot see you, right, Rohan? So you need to give me a verbal signs.
Yeah, if I'm getting stuck, okay. I think I told Seeker too, like he's gonna jump in. Okay, so guys, basically, I actually wanted to start with one of the quotes that I read in an article that I was reading, and it's a very important article, by the way. So the quote says like a community is defined by the cooperation of its participants, and efficient cooperation requires a medium of exchange and a way of enforcing contract. This is a quote from Wei Dai, and this is from the article Be Money. Now the reason this is important is it's a very important piece of history. Like this article was written in 1998, and it was Wei Dai's attempt to imagine a system or a protocol through which we could create like decentralized anonymous communities, and for which we need to provide the service of a medium of exchange and a way to enforce contracts. And he envisioned that there is a way to do it without the traditional governments or government-sponsored entities. And this and other such like papers and ideas actually eventually built up to the blockchain. Is someone unmuted? Priyansha, your mic is unmuted. We'll server mute you. Okay. So this article actually, like in some senses, this is like pre-Bitcoin. This is the idea. These are the ideas that actually built up to Bitcoin. And in some sense, it shows that this space is built with the foundation of understanding the comes down to coordination of how we govern resources, and also an understanding of what mediums of exchange do we use it and how they shape societies. Can we go to the next one? So that's why I wanted to start with coordination, because basically there were a lot of ideas in Joel's like podcast that I really like. A lot of interesting frames through which I hadn't seen the world that I got to see when he introduced these ideas. Like he spoke about finance, governance, capital, coordination, consensus, where we are going and what the real value add of the Web3 space is in some sense. To me, I wanted to briefly talk about like why I am here in some sense, because I think that will inform you'll understand why I have these ideas about the space itself. Like, I really believe that the way we shaped like the financial, economic, political, and social systems so far, they're starting to reach their limits in some sense. And we are hitting planetary limits in terms of pollution. Every system seems to have some kind of like embedded growth obligation. If we don't grow at a rate, they all disintegrate. And because of this, it's extremely hard to find coordination among companies, like countries. Like if you think about climate change, for example, it's like all countries don't want climate change. Nobody wants climate change to happen. Nobody wants nuclear proliferation, right? We don't want these problems to come. But the reason they come is because we are not able to efficiently coordinate with each other to stop them from happening. Because if I don't know the other person isn't going to do what they're supposed to, then I have to defend myself and do it anyway. Like so, with respect to climate change, that's the same problem. It's the same structural problem that you see in most big issues we have in society, and it's a coordination problem at the end of the day. And the core of these issues, basically, I mean, a lot of people, we end up blaming predatory capitalism or neoliberalism or whatever. But these, to me, seem as symptoms of an underlying problem, which is failure to create mechanisms to coordinate with each other. And so what we're really searching for, I believe, for me at least, in Web3, what we're really searching for is a coordination mechanism through which we can create possibilities for win-wins for everyone in the system. And the reason this can happen potentially, and the reason everybody, like really brilliant people, are working on this at the end of the day, is because we have a transparent, immutable ledger on which the games once defined can't change on us, right? And this builds a potential of trust among its players and coordination eventually. This is, by the way, a quote I picked up from Kevin Awaki, the Gitcoin founder. And also, like another point that he made was solving coordination failures is a better thing we can do with these systems than just creating decentralized casinos. And that was quite a jab out there. But the main thing, coming back to the article, I'm sorry, quite a rant, but the main difference that we see actually between animals and humans is coordination. Like if you look at, there are animals that can come in the millions and build anthills or beehives or stuff like that, and they can build something really big. But their trick is that they're all siblings. We are the only animals in the world that can do it without being siblings. And that's what truly sets us apart. And in some sense, what he offers in the podcast is a way to look at the history of humans as a set of improvements on coordination technology. Like he points out that initially we had, at least a part of the points that he made was about verbal contracts. About that verbal contracts are kind of limited because they open up opportunities to coordinate in smaller groups. But the only reason it works is because there's an enforcement mechanism, which is social repercussions in your family or your clan or people around you. That's the enforcement mechanism, and the instrument, not the instrument, but the contract is like the verbal contract. And then you have written contracts, which in some sense enable us to coordinate with much bigger groups of people, like even nation level systems, through which we can form companies, we can have employment brings up. And in that, the enforcement mechanism at the end of the day is monopoly of violence. Like you have an army at the end of the day that will come with a gun and put you in jail if you don't actually stick by those contracts. That's basically my read of what he said about coordination, what he said about the history of contracts, and I think we can go into each individual ones as we go through the slides. Stella, do you have anything to point out here? Why did we bring up Babylon? Maybe you can speak up. Stella?
You want me to speak on the city of Babylon? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So we kind of picked this image, and realizing it's a little bit controversial because on the one hand, it stands for a city built in kind of a magnificent way by a multitude of humans, and for some reason it kind of did work. But if you believe the myth or the story around it, people they were all speaking the same language. Maybe it's more a symbol than anything else. But also, they brought it to a certain point, and then essentially it kind of collapsed, right? So it's if you look at really, really big cities that have accumulated millions, tens of millions of people, it's the same thing. It's like this bustling society. So, for example, in Lima, Peru, it's only I think 12 million officially right now, but probably it's more like 15 million. And but the system eventually collapses, right? It cannot, like the way we are organized right now, it cannot take care of everything efficiently. So you have large parts of Lima that actually don't have running water, they don't have running electricity, and there are like a ton of like illegal settlements, which is not good for them. So, but they still do it because it's better than any other option that they have. So yeah, I think it's, I mean, you live in India, I know you have much bigger cities. So I think you've seen it happening. And yeah, it's just like you said, we need to solve.
It's just amazing. Like, I find it absolutely amazing that we are able, like as an animal, we are able to come together and build such magnificent, beautiful, big places. Like, no matter how ugly cities can be sometimes, but it's like, whenever I see the skyline of Bombay, I'm just like, that's insane that we did this. Like, it's crazy that we've done this. Like, but yeah, so like the thing that sets us apart is coordination. And it seems like throughout history, we can read it as improvements on coordination technologies, which allow us to solve bigger and bigger problems, also create bigger problems. That's a side point. But yeah, the next one, yeah. So in this one, also like I think after this slide, we can actually open up discussions in the middle. But the point I think I really liked that Joel made was that when he discusses capital, he says that traditionally, I think we have kind of not defined capital in a. It doesn't capture the whole meaning of what we actually know capital to be, like instinctually. Like for example, he gives Adam Smith's definition, and he says that it kind of only comes down to like actual like tangible like goods or like money itself, or property, for example. But there are definitely social and cultural capital. There is political capital. And in some sense, he says the better way to define capital is the ability to influence the world and its economic resources. So he's trying to widen the idea of capital. The examples I could think of is like, or say, like priests in India, the Pope, they have massive political capital. They can actually get entire countries to change. They can get civil, like, I mean, historically they've conducted wars over the years, right? Like, so there is definitely an ability to influence the world. And so far, the point is that we haven't able to observe, measure, and trade the capital asset. And I think the next point really brings it up properly, like the next slide. Actually, we'll... So yeah, like his entire point is that just the way, like for example, when you think about patents, or we think about something as abstract as stocks, like there is capital that exists in the system always. Even within friendships, he says that some friends have a higher influence over other decisions. So there's capital that always exists. Whatever speaking, capital that always exists. We just don't have instruments in order to measure, trade, or observe them. And the second we add instruments to systems which have capital already, you actually create, what do you say, like you create the ability to, in some sense, sorry. Oops. Yeah, we create the ability to convert these abstract concepts into quantifiable, tradable assets through which we can actually then unlock much more wealth that already exists in the system. Just like patents did for ideas. Like, I mean, ownership of ideas is a pretty abstract and strange concept, and it wouldn't make any sense to us before, maybe. But now, in some sense, we're so used to the idea, but we're not used to the idea of political or cultural capital having its own assets. Do you have any points here? Or like,
yeah.
We can talk about the cowrie.
Yeah, so we added the cowrie shells to the slide as symbols and currency at the same time. So that's something important that Joel kind of made a similar point, but who pointed it out even further is the article by Michael Zarkam that we studied in the first session, where he mentioned like extrinsic and intrinsic motivations, for example, to join a DAO, right? So you can have the extrinsic one, which would be the currency, but then the symbolic one would be probably an intrinsic motivation. So we added the shells as an example of like, being one of the first currencies that held like both meanings, and essentially build financial market of sorts, right? And we added something I quickly, because we didn't add it here. Can I quickly show this, Roro? Is this okay?
Yeah, sure.
Because
yeah.
it's also pretty beautiful. So the Inca used a statistics system that's called Kipu, and it's pretty impressive just by itself. But it's essentially a statistical system that is being kept in knots. So it's highly transportable, right? Because this is like, it's just a bunch of, threads that you have to carry around. But those threads actually held the whole history of their financial market, essentially, right? And so it's kind of like almost the first binary system, right? It's either a thread or it's a knot. And so, we just thought like this could be a good thing to remember.
Yeah. And I mean, like, in some sense, even money itself is it's a token in some sense, like that represents that is supposed to represent value. So it's an abstract concept that exists, and we try to create an instrument to actually try to measure it, observe it, and treat it. And that obviously enables coordination. That obviously enables us to kind of have a consensus around how much someone has, and therefore we can have a market around it and actually build systems of coordination around it. Reshu, do you want to maybe you can just actually unmute and talk right now?
I was kind of commenting back to Kojak as far as his definition. So I mean, capital, like in the paper, like he pretty much lists capital as anything. I mean, it pretty much. I mean, he does give specific examples, but I think capital, like in my definition in the chat, is anything that can influence decision making or create an outcome, a desired outcome, whether it's self-benefit or if it's a community or organizational benefit. But yeah, I also agree though that he says, I don't know if he clearly stated it or not. I don't know. I've been in like 3 other study groups discussing this paper, so apologies. So I don't know if not all capital can be sold and transferred. And even if you NFT, like you can't NFT reputation. Like my reputation in an NFT is not going to do Stella any good because it's my reputation. So anyway, I just want to bring that up. And I love the reputation model.
That's actually,
no, I absolutely agree. Yeah. See?
No, that's actually an interesting point because we talked about this yesterday as well, and we also have to consider that this video was taken like over a year ago. We all know what that means in crypto time, right? Like 3 years, 10 years, I don't know. So I think since that time until today, I think there have been around like a lot of different DAOs, right? And a lot of them purely worked with like a reward structure, a very simplified reward structure that seemed like it was working well, but then it was also a reason some of those DAOs collapsed. So I'm honestly I watched this video with a lot of caution. I think he makes a ton of good points. Do I agree with all of them? Definitely not.
Same for me. Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I think it was, since it was a podcast, I think the whole point was just to put the ideas out there, and I think Starter, you have something?
Thank you for sharing your views. For me, how I see this, I see it as a complex system of trust. When I reflected on the article, I've seen this in previous careers or whatever, and just other areas. And I see it as a complex system of trust, and we see the consequences of trust and distrust appear in society every day. And what's really interesting, what this made me reflect on, is the fact that this is even in biology. We see the consequences of this behavior when one organism converges features of another for the selective benefit of sharing resemblance. Capital isn't any different. And so what I would say, the way I summarize it, is that those who seek power seek capital. Those who seek capital seek control. If we plant new seeds of capital digitally, we can watch those seeds grow, and evolved governance will eventually create equal control.
Very good, like perfectly said, I think.
Yeah.
Honestly.
No. We had this point, right, like Sela, about the,
but
like we were discussing.
Phrase it that nicely. He phrased it so much better.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we were wondering, I mean, obviously, the financial markets have garnered a lot of wealth. They've enabled coordination beyond what was possible without it, like without written contracts and all of these things. But in some sense, I think the point that it seems like he's too over-optimistic about converting things to markets, because markets also bring a lot of inequality, in my opinion. I don't know where I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, like, wealth inequality has only increased over the years, right? Like, with markets being there. So what happens, I mean, if we think of a world where you can, in some sense, create create instruments to trade, let's say, influence of politics or social influence, like, what happens then? Like, I mean, it is something you should think about, like whether will that really create more inequality than in voice towards changing things?
Yeah, Rohan, may I jump in? May I jump in? You were sharing, or Stella, you were sharing the first quote on the slide, and when I saw it, I kind of reacted a little bit differently to it, and I think it was something to do with the coordination of money, right? I think that was what it was. If you go to the very first slide, yes, right here. So community is defined by the cooperation of its participants, and efficient cooperation requires a medium of exchange, money, and ways to enforce that, contracts, etc. And for me, what I noticed there was that I reacted to it because I said, the thing that I think Joel has correct is the fact that it's about capital, and the reason we are here as a consequence of our actions. Okay, so if there's inequality, it's because of some of the consequences that have been created. So when we look at this particular quote, it's not about money. That's what we think it's about. Because if we always focus on the medium of exchange as money, we're always going to create inequality. Now, what Joel says, and I agree with, is the fact that it's about capital. It's about truly understanding what that capital is and what are the levers to find a mutually mechanism of trade for that. I'll just go back to one thing. I'm very fascinated with ancient Egyptology, and I was teaching my girls something recently about the Nile. The Nile used to be the lifeblood way back in the day of Central. I won't even pretend to know it. So the key takeaway I learned here is that the Nile was very important, because what it would do is that it would flood the plains along the Nile, and then the farmers would plant their crops, and you'd have people coming from on their ships when the water would recede, and they would come down their ships, and they would then trade whatever they grew with other people on that ship. I think what we're missing here is we're not understanding that medium of capital to trade, because money is a new phenomenon. Capital has been here for the dawn of time. So that's I think that for me was kind of he reinforced what I've always kind of thought in the back of my mind, but that's where I was going with it. But sorry if I monopolized the time. No.
I mean, we're open to it. It's a peer-to-peer learning group. Like we're just hosting it. Yeah.
No, can I take this one?
Great thoughts, Stella. So actually, I wanted to ask that Stella, Roro, I think you guys have some disagreements with what Joel has said from the article, right? But it would be nice to hear the counter arguments as well, that what you feel is not correct, just for discussion and understanding purpose. I think it widens our understanding.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if my major thing was that creating financial markets, again, like basically startup put it the best. Okay? I think money should represent value at the end of the day, right? And when we create these markets or instruments, where it doesn't really there's a level of there's a layer of abstraction, and you end up not actually money becomes its own thing, and money becomes its own game that everyone's trying to play. And when you create financial markets around it, yes, it does some of the things that you wanted to do, but a lot of the things, like for example, most money created now is through speculation and things like that. It stops being what it was originally supposed to be, and now it's its own game that we're playing. And I feel like that's what could happen to tokenization of other things too. We run the, what do you say?
But Rohan, isn't this the risk that you have when you tokenize anything?
Yeah, no, it is. And therefore, we have to think about the risks that come with it and actually understand the mechanisms that we're using to enable it. And that's why, to me, the reason I'm in the Web3 blockchain space, because I really do think that a transparent, immutable ledger actually allows us to create systems that didn't exist earlier, mechanisms that didn't exist earlier. And I'm just excited to see what new innovations we can build here, and can we create fairer systems. And that's where I come with the hope that we will be able to make. But to be over-optimistic that tokenization of everything will make everything better is obviously not the right approach to go with it.
It's also, I don't know how many of you had the time to chime in when Trent gave his little talk in the booth here at DEF CON. It was transmitted via Zoom. And I asked him, I said, so do you think that, because he said, the best system is to have as less governance as possible, if you can afford it, right? And so I asked him, and I said, do you think that applies to everything in Web3, or are you saying this specifically, in terms of, running a protocol, because he runs Ocean Protocol? And he said, no, this is actually specifically to running a protocol, or actually very specifically to Ocean Protocol. And that just means, and I think this is why I wouldn't even see it as having differences. I would just think I run a very different project than what, for example, Rohan is working on, right? So this is how we also kind of, I think, need to learn to be very adaptive. So there is not one answer that just fits all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it very specifically applies to what you are talking about in sense of the project you're working on, the project you're running, all of these things. And I just want to quickly point out this really great meme that Kat posted on the chat among the cool other things. But so just to keep, a little bit of a laugh inside. It's nice.
Luca, do you want to Yeah, okay. Luca could unmute and speak.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, you should say this, Lutra.
Yes. I was, when I read the paper and listened to the podcast, I was strongly reminded, of property rights theory in economics. The author stopped somewhere at the 18th century, his connections to Adam Smith, and that we have developed new forms of capital. That's completely right. There's human capital, social capital, intellectual capital, and so on and so forth. But I think the main thing to use those resources and capture value is you need to have well-defined property rights. And usually in economics, there are four aspects to property rights. So there's the right to use an asset, there's the right to earn from the usage, there's the right to change it, and there's the right to sell it and to wrap the profits. And I think this is closely connected to capital, or as he also stated, to the power to imply influence on others or certain things like that. And I was reminded about this kind of property rights theory and the great way a tokenized economy would be in order to define property rights and to distribute them, even on a bigger scale. That was my thoughts on the topic.
That's very insightful. Actually, honestly makes, that is also something, that's something I hadn't considered. And you put it very well. Does anyone have anything to say to that? Because I actually...
Oh, it's me, sorry.
No, I'm just speaking to others. Like if anyone else has some ideas around this, because that is pretty new to me.
You mean the property rights aspects of it?
Yeah, like I mean that is a lens through which I hadn't seen.
Okay.
So I learned something.
Just give me 1 or 2 hours, but I'm looking for some literature on the topic, right?
Okay, lovely. Perfect.
But I mean, if you're going back to the theory of public goods, the main problem is free riding behavior, because the property rights are not well defined. And because and this causes problems because nobody's going to invest because they can't wrap, all the utility due to the free riding mechanism. So we need some kind of government in order to deliver those public goods to the population, of a nation state. And with a token-based economy, we might see privately funded public good provision, and that's a huge opportunity.
Okay. I mean, what's your? I mean, if anyone wants to chime in, please do. But I really wanted to go in the direction of, what do you think about Gitcoin, like quadratic funding and other mechanisms that people have thought through for public goods funding? Have you read maybe about it, Lutra?
No.
Oh.
We'll have to think about it.
Yeah, you really should. Because actually I got into this space because I read about quadratic funding. And it was just such a fascinating concept to me because the goal is to solve public goods funding. And they're very interesting.
I know there's a paper, I guess, by Vitalik himself, right? Yeah. I'm sorry to say, but I haven't finished reading it, but we can have a talk.
Okay, lovely.
When I've answered.
Okay, lovely.
Ron, I would just add. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, 1 second. Just 1 second, Strada. Lutra, I'm going to add a link on quadratic funding and voting into the chat because I believe the inventors of that system is actually radical exchange.
I know, but Vitalik was, I think, a co-author on the...
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And Gitcoin, Gitcoin with Kevin Awaki, they actually ended up implementing it. So they're running rounds for quadratic voting and stuff, which is very fascinating to me. Starter, you had something?
All I was just going to say is that Lutra, it's a very, very interesting point. If I may just offer a different opinion on it, I don't necessarily think that we always require some sort of institution to play the role of matchmaker. I just think that is something that, as you mentioned with, property rights, with government, I get it, protectionism of assets, but I think we can evolve beyond that because if we focus by building on the edge of uncertainty, we'll probably be powering new economic systems to better society and not destroy it.
Right. No, but I felt like that's maybe I misjudged it, but I thought Lutra was talking about how that is where the opportunity is to redefine, to reimagine who actually, moving it out of the hands of the government and figuring out how we can actually define property rights without having a government that defines. And actually,
I misunderstood them. I thought you were saying that you need that. Maybe I heard it wrong.
No, I think he meant traditionally.
So we can understand. Maybe I misunderstood.
Oh, sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, I think it's interesting because there are certain kind of goods, we call them public goods, won't be produced privately by companies or by individuals. And one of the problems is you have to take some cost in order to produce something, in order to give work to the others, but you can't wrap really the benefits of it. And nobody's going to pay you because each and everybody with undefined clear property rights might act as a free rider. And that's the reason why we need, in the old world, let's say like this, an institution that is providing those goods for the public, for the population, be it safety, be it defense or something like that, or the public infrastructure like roads and so on and so forth. But the emergence of crypto-economic systems offers us now a way to provide public goods and to combine it with an incentive for the individual to do the work and to contribute. And that might be something really revolutionary, not only for a company that we work together in a DAO and not in a hierarchy or something like that, but even on a higher scale, on the societal level, we might be able to have our own funding and own government of the commons. That was my point.
Lucha, that's beautiful. I completely misunderstood. I heard the old system, but you know what? I think you're absolutely right, 100%.
Yeah, and
Thank
that actually.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much. Glad that we could clear up the point, right?
Yeah, and
it's a very important point. I think we need to realize, and so that's amazing. Keep on sharing, man.
Yeah, I mean, the way you put it actually was beautiful, and honestly, this is the reason I'm here. Like, I think public goods is the problem to solve through Web3, basically, in my opinion. But okay.
Actually,
okay.
Maybe in addition to that, yesterday Griff Green gave a talk here at DAF Con purely about public goods. And I took some pictures of his slides. I'm going to post them a little bit later in our study group and some links connected to it, because I think like all of us are even more interested now in that. So seems like a good fit.
Yeah. Hi. Hi Rohan. He's here. Okay, so can we go back to the slides? We'll rush through it. I don't know how we'll distribute the rest of the time now. But let's just go through one of the settlement layer slide. I think I have a point there. And then
let's do it.
We can go through the exam questions right after.
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Governance and settlement layers. You're on.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, out here, I'll just rush through this, but the major point that I really liked, which was very interesting to me, was when he gave the example of Walmart versus Facebook. I mean, basically, I think something along the lines of that. Walmart was a company that, again, like, became really big. You can own capital in the company through the stocks and the instruments that we built in the previous systems. But the thing is, it is okay when it's Walmart. It's not okay when it's Facebook, and the capital is only allocated practically in one company. Because Facebook or any internet-based or social media organizations, which are basically running the world to some extent, if they influence the way our kids are raised, if they influence the way like businesses are run, the way politics is conducted across the world, in some sense, people who are influenced by it should have governance right over it, if they want to. But the model of nation states kind of limits that. And I think the point he was making is that is also a value add that maybe the crypto space can bring, which is that building technology on the blockchain, which are not traditionally, and they're more native to the internet. You can actually distribute capital across the people who use the products that are, or services that through those organizations. That was something I felt like was very fascinating to me. Another point I think that was really interesting was about the reducing avenues for Discord by automation, which was basically the better the system design, the less chances there are for Discord among the people, and therefore more coordination can exist. So, like for example, verbal contracts have more avenues for Discord, because maybe you won't remember what the other person said about it. Maybe the numbers go off here. Written and who enforces it, who makes sure that conversation actually happens. So there's more avenue for Discord. In written contracts also, there's avenue for Discord in the sense of the only way there's a chance that someone alters the documents, etc. But on the blockchain, you kind of avoid all of that. And once implementation of smart contracts, in some sense, can give you the ability to make sure to enforce only when certain criteria are met. And if everyone agrees that that's how it was set up, the game can't change under you. Like nobody can alter the contract, nobody can control it. And I feel like those are 2 points which are very interesting. But again, open to discussions. Y'all can bring up your points too. And if I'm wrong about this, please bring it up because I'm learning too.
I think this goes really nicely with the slide before in terms of or what we're talking about with quadratic voting. And I know that when Wiley, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it like touches on pluralism where the idea is cooperation among or distributed like across differences or among differences, and the quadratic voting is supposed to be a better way to be able to reflect that. So it's like you're able to capture a diverse group of thought in a very I don't want to use the word nice, but in a very cooperative way. And I think that's what the quadratic voting
and it
capture.
Also mathematically, it actually is the perfect solution for the public goods problem, is what I've read. But again, I think the economists will be able to help us better here.
Also, I think, Also, I think it's. Oh fuck! I lost my chain of thought. Go on. What did you say?
No, that is pretty much it from my end. If anyone else, Lutra, Strata, anyone has, maybe people who haven't spoken. Stella, go ahead.
Sorry, I remember now. So he says that it's I think it's somewhere in the middle. It's not specifically about that, but kind of connects. It's where he says that right now we're in the situation with the DAOs that we actually that's the next slide, whatever. Sorry. With the DAOs that he thinks that are really most of them are actually digital organizations for now. Part of that I believe is because we are mimicking of what we already know. So it's happening all over again what happened already in Web 1 to Web 2, or even just in Web 1, where a lot of companies just copied mechanisms. We read all about that in Trends Sustainability in Web 3. So it's kind of happening all over again. And he thinks that probably the younger generations, which are not really so used to those rigid systems that we have in place right now, they might come up with better solutions, or with even further elaborate essentially on those ideas of how can we implement those systems. Because something I've also seen around here is projects are different. If you have a protocol, great, right? Then you can really like Trent said, you can really minimize governance to the utmost point and still keep your product running and make it pretty pretty seamless, right? Frictionless actually. But then it's not like ocean doesn't have other problems. It's you fix one problem, but there's still then another problem that arises. So it's a kind of like a trial error is what I hear here also all around. And as soon as it gets in touch with actual countries or nations who are right now looking into how they can apply this to organize themselves better. So it's I met actually a lot of people who were here at DEF CON sent by their ministries. So I was pretty impressed by that. So it means countries are looking into how can we use this technology that Joel kindly calls coordination technology and make our systems less heavy, less administrative, and more efficient. So it's definitely a thing. Sorry, should we stop again, discuss, or should I just go through the last slide?
We'll go through the last slide. But also, I think Kojak has been saying, putting things on chat, and I think we are not reading it.
I cannot read while I share. Kojak, don't you want to unmute?
I think he can't today. He said that earlier.
Oh, okay. Wait, then.
I think he said something like, yes, quadratic funding has much more ramifications than being just an excellent allocator mechanism. It brings the quantitative approach with qualitative objectively. That is pretty good. And I agree. Like for me, quadratic funding has been the most fascinating thing that we've built here so far, like within in Web3. Like, but again, I don't know much. I'm new. And yeah. Do we want to go through the questions? What do we do? Yeah, okay.
Maybe let's just quickly go through.
Yeah, Rachel, say something.
Strata?
Yeah, I was just going to say that link I put in there. I don't know how many people have heard of Whiteboard Crypto, but for newcomers who are coming into blockchain, Whiteboard Crypto can help you out a lot. Their videos are short, 15 minutes. I'm not trying to sponsor them or anything. I just found them helpful when I joined 20 months ago to get started with some issues.
No, me too, honestly. They use a lot of analogies, and it's a great way for learning for me.
So I have kind of a concern or question. I don't know how to put it. I'm reluctant to say, but I don't know how to word it exactly. So his thesis for this paper and most of his work kind of bold, because, okay, here's what he said. Token with governance will capture the most value over time because they have a capital function merged with the currency function, right? And it goes further to break down what the currency function and the capital function is. The capital function is the long-term value, while the currency function is the short-term value. Currency, in this sense, is just a medium of exchange, right? So in what he's saying, like blockchain provides opportunity for us to merge these two functions into one asset. Because, okay, let me make a reference to the equity market. The equity market, you, the stockholder, you only access the currency function because you can exchange your value, having like a unit of exchange. But the capital itself, it lies with the board of executives because they have the power to influence the changes that come, right? But Web3 has provided with this tokenization, there's found a way to merge these two functions into one asset. So now you not only have a unit exchange, but you also have the power to control the underlying value, which is the capital function, right? But then again, he makes a statement like more like a push or an advocation for building governance into every token.
Yeah.
Here. So I keep referring to the statement that Stella said to me.
Your voice got cut. I couldn't.
Yeah, Chris, you said Stella, and then I didn't know what you wanted to blame before.
And like a statement you made that I liked a lot. Like I keep referring to a statement you made about governance. Like, does every token need governance? Does every protocol need governance? Or how much governance is required for certain? In his thesis, he's arguing for governance almost every protocol. That's how I see it. Like, because he argues that governance captures a long-term value or guarantees a long-term value as opposed to any other thing. So, meaning if there's no governance, there's a high tendency that this token value over time, right? From his perspective. But now, seeing his definition of governance or governance tokens, which is the combination of capital function and currency function, I begin to ask, okay, what's the vehicle for holding these two assets and not lose the main property, which is limiting the concentration of power? Because here, the first image I shared here is combining the currency and capital leads to greater scale. That's the even share of wealth, right? But we what we have now in the crypto space, an ERC20 token can be bought by anyone, and where the wealth is already distributed in the world, that can easily transfer to what we have. So, what vehicle can we hold these two functions in a way that we can avoid this plutocracy? So now I started thinking of different assets. Okay, we have the ERC20 token. It won't work there because the ability to trade it, the tradability of that asset will lead to plutocracy. Now, my thought went to soul-bound tokens or So with sober tokens, yes, we can avoid that plutocracy and we can have an equal distribution of power. But now we lose the currency function with sober token. So, like, I want to put it out there. So, what vehicles do we have, or what way do we have that we can combine these two functions and still achieve this goal of equal distribution of power? So that's
right. Okay. My Discord's stuck, so I can't say anything.
Wait, we can hear you still, or I can hear you still. Just
Oh, okay.
so you know.
Okay.
I was just going to say that, Chris, those are very profound views and questions, and I'd be happy to just talk to you offline about what my thoughts are to everything you were asking or what you were saying. We can talk about it offline, just to save time.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have to save time. We have like open discussion. Maybe we can. You can hold your thought if that's okay. We go through the last slide, go through the exam questions, and then I think we still have like more than 20 minutes. Yeah. So I think like everything that you feel is right to say, you should be able to say here. Okay. Just quickly going through like one more concept that Joe puts out there, or actually two. It's like rage quitting in combination with forking. So he says that it's like tools are different. What we make of it depends on us. It was bringing up before, and instead of DAOs, it's rather DOs, digital organizations, as of right now, because we like most. I think there is no one really that can claim we have figured out governance as a total for everyone, right, and applicable to everything. So I guess he's like not wrong with this like reformulation of the term for now. And then he says like in rage quitting, which usually comes from gaming. You can essentially just take your shares, rage quit, and leave if you want to, right? That's nothing you can do, let's say, in the real world. You're a US citizen. You cannot just be quit being a US citizen, right? I mean, probably you could, but it's definitely a little bit more complicated. And something he brings up is, as an example, he brings up the Moloch DAO, who invented apparently the rage quit mechanism. Honestly, we had to read up on it as well. Neither of us were familiar with the Moloch DAO. And it also says in the article or the extra excerpt that Roro found, it clearly says that, yeah, you can rage quit, but then that comes with a lot of other problems. So it's also not a perfect concept, is what I get from that. But the other cool thing is, or potentially cool thing, it really depends on the project, is that if it's an open source project, you potentially can just fork it, right? And you can make it your own, and you can implement the ideas that you think are right. Of course, that requires, knowledge, but I mean, it's out there, the knowledge as well as the opportunity to do it. So I think, that was that for me. And maybe you guys will share about the Moloch DAO, but like, let's just.
Oh no, I wanted to say quickly. I wanted to say that I knew about Moloch DAO.
Oh,
I didn't know about the Discord. Yeah, because again, one of my favorite essays in this space was Meditations on Moloch. It's my favorite essay, like on every, and I've put it on my.
This is being recorded. Are you sure you don't want to say it's Michael Zargham?
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, both. I'll vote both. Yeah.
Okay, those are the example questions.
Yeah. Also, by the way, the exam, like, you can actually put your answers on the website now, and you can actually get the certificate. Me, Stella, and Strata got it yesterday, so I think module 1 we'll be able to go through. And I got 97%, by the way, which is 3% more than Stella.
We had a disagreement. I'm so curious what you guys will think about this disagreement, because I think that disagreement cost me 3% or 4%. Who knows? I'm really curious. I will not tell before. So okay, how does Joe Monegro define the value of capital? The options were, or are, the value of capital is a function of how much the power to organize the economic resources of a social system can be directed to the holder's benefit. Number one. Number two, by the way, like when you take the online exam, there is no 1, 2, 3, right? The answers to the questions are being randomized for everyone. So be careful about
and
that.
also like it's the same questions for the most part. I think what we realized that were there in the PDF. Yeah.
It was all the same questions, yeah. And same answers.
Also, can you not share it? Because I think reading through every option might take time.
I don't have it on this computer downloaded. This is why I cannot.
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys.
Okay.
This is why I'm reading it. And I cannot download it now anymore because there is no PDF to download anymore.
Can we ask? We can just ask for the answers then from people. Because have you guys solved it? Like, if someone solved it, we can just discuss it. Because reading every option might take too long, won't it?
I think it's option number 1, right? It's the power to organize and.
The value of capital is function of how much. Yeah, power to organize. Yeah, we got that too. Yeah.
Stella, there's on chat. Someone sent the PDF.
Someone sent the
Ratio
PDF?
sent the PDF. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ratio.
You want me to share my screen with the? You want me to share my screen with the answers?
You don't have to. Now I have it, thanks to you.
All right, cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just quickly move forward to.
Yeah, why didn't I think of sharing it with you? I don't know why. That's so silly.
Okay, so this is the one that we figured it would be. Maybe you guys can agree to this. So the next one, why, according to Joe Monegro, are all forms of capital in effect governance over resources? Strata?
Can you zoom in?
What?
Yeah, can you zoom in? Zoom in a little more.
Zoom in what?
No, zoom in.
You were good. Yeah.
Like
that's
that?
Too much. Yeah, it's okay. Perfect. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah.
Okay. So it's this question. What's the answer? What do you guys think?
Lutra, did you? No, Kat. Yeah.
Number 3, because all forms of capital offer some control over distribution of economic resources across a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
Next one.
So, yeah.
Do you want to take this?
What could be the landscape of tokenized networks look like long term, according to Joel Monegro? I actually don't remember my answers. I just directly put it in. Which one was it? The first one? Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. Anyone who thinks differently, please go.
Yeah.
I actually, I initially put 1 as well, but then realizing that if the goal is number 1, but in trying to reach number 1, it'll probably actually end up looking a little bit messier, which would mean it more, realistically might end up looking more like 2.
No, but this one I think me and you had a disagreement on, right, Stella? This one was the one, right?
No, this was the one we had a disagreement on.
Oh, right. That's true.
3%.
Did anyone? Yeah. Go ahead.
Strata, did you go through this already? Do you think Kat's answer might be the better option, which would be this one?
No, I'm saying that if the ideal one is number 1, it might end up looking like number 2. So I don't know how to answer this question because there's an ideal and then what the reality of what it might look like trying to get there.
I felt like I heard him say the first one during the podcast, but I might be wrong.
I think so too. Okay, I mean, the next one we had the disagreement on, and I think this is what cost me points. Because I was just not ready to agree with it. I was being stubborn. Maybe I should not have been stubborn. Roland said it's the decision-making power on how profits will be distributed.
I said the first one.
Sorry, this is what I said, and this is what you said, right?
Yeah.
You said control over the whole system, and I said the second one. Because I just think right now, even in governance systems, you usually have a developer team who has access to the smart contracts of the protocol, in case there is an emergency through a multi-sig account, which means actually you don't hold control over the system as a whole. So I was very much in disagreement with that, but
no, yeah, I mean both things. Yeah. The second one definitely. I knew he said it about other systems like the older systems. Even Rohan Sundar thinks control over the whole system. So both Rohans agree here.
Yeah, the first one is of a superset of the second one, so it should be more correct because it encompasses the second one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll chime in here on this point because I think it's a really kind of nuanced one. I think a lot of us investors in traditional assets often look at earnings and revenue of a particular company to find its value. And I think in communication with a lot of investors that I speak to, they really struggled understanding the value of crypto economic systems because of the lack of revenue or earnings generation. I think the example of Uniswap is a really good one because the lack of fees can generate value somewhere else in the system. So the control over that can be captured somewhere else. So we shouldn't be necessarily thinking about the profits of the protocol itself and the value capture mechanism, but the value it can be provided somewhere else and the control over that. So that's a really, I feel like is going to be an increasingly important point where the traditional investment community needs to understand just the different mechanisms of value creation here. That's something that I think I really want to highlight because I think it's a big point of contention among the capital owners of the current system in saying, hey, we can't understand this generates no revenue, and we can't really invest and allocate capital to it.
That's interesting, yeah. And yeah, those points were, like the Uniswap point also was pretty, it explained the point very well. And I think the one Sundar is talking about curve bribes as a perfect example for this, yeah. And
Last one is what's the core governance, innovation, and crypto networks according to Joe Monegro? And I think we agreed on
next chapter.
What?
That's chapter 5.
No, the last.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, she highlighted it, so it's yeah.
It's this one.
Yeah.
I think we agreed on this one. I don't know if you guys can agree on this as well. So I think when it comes to this, definitely listen to Rohan because this is like the only thing we had in difference, and it cost me 3 points. So don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall in the whole, in all of the answers, I think in all of the answers that we've answered through the modules, one of ours was wrong through all of the sections in the module.
Yeah,
I don't know which one. Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I wish though. I think I will bring this up today when we have the host call, because it would be nice to know what you didn't get. So you can.
No, but the problem there, it seems I can make a fake ID. I can go through the entire test, know which ones are wrong, and then immediately solve it on my real one. I mean, I guess you can do that with anything, but I feel like there's a big loophole if they tell us where we went wrong. Maybe.
No, also I think like it would be honestly it would be nice if you the book I started learning Python with, right? It lets you do the exercises until you get them all right, right? So you can really, really learn from your mistakes. So if you don't know where you made your mistake, how are you able to learn?
Correct, true.
Right? So
I really don't think the point of the exam seems to be to learn, and I think they're just checking whether we've read the source material. Because they can't check whether we've actually learned or not.
Yeah, but okay, even then, like we probably misunderstood something, right? So it would be nice what we did misunderstand if we could know. Okay, guys, like this is the end of exam time. We are up for discussion, and then I will quickly later get
to
you able to what's happening next. What, Kat? What's happening?
On the exams, are you able to? Is it multiple choice? Like, are you able to answer or select more than one?
Yeah, some questions are and some questions aren't, and it's very clear which ones are and which ones aren't because the checkboxes are different. So you don't have to guess whether they have multiple. Like if you think it's a single one and I think there are multiple options available, it's a multiple one.
Yeah, it's obvious. Thank God it's obvious.
Yeah. Also, let's go through what. Oh, we had to. Okay, guys, we had to discuss the other modules. So we are going to continue through module 2 now after this from next week.
Oh yeah.
And
let me quickly share. So yeah. So for next week, we thought it would be good to read through module 2, Introduction to Automatic Market Makers and Introduction to Discovery Phase. And also we are getting on planning to like how can we start with Python, right? Because all of you will be required to install a coding environment if you want to keep taking those modules. And we decided that
I think module 4 is the one which has the coding stuff.
It starts in 4 exactly. And so like Rohan and I, we will actually make like a tutorial video for you on how to set up your Anaconda Python environment, coding environment. So just a heads up, it's gonna come. We went through the modules, it's gonna happen. Better we get like early on, like solving that problem for all of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Do we have to set up Anaconda environment? Is that correct?
I don't know if that's the thing, but I think that'll be the easiest for everyone to do, is what I believe. Have they said Conda environment?
They didn't say anything.
Okay.
So however you want, but for those who are beginners, it might be best to just go with Anaconda because some of the settings.
So actually,
it takes a lot of work setting up software.
Yeah. No, I mean Conda would be the easiest to do for everybody, like relatively, and it also I'll make sure I even explain how we set up environments so that we don't mess up with downloading files of different versions anyway. So I'll explain that to Stella. We'll make that video together, and then you guys can just follow the instructions. It'll be pretty easy.
Yeah. Also, I asked Angela actually about it again to make sure, like, they didn't plan for anything else, and she also said Anaconda is the way to go. So there is no other road. Not this one.
No, it's pretty easy. It shouldn't be an issue for anybody. We'll figure it out.
Unless someone is planning to do all the coding in Rust, in which case please turn back to basics. I'm probably going to do it in Rust.
Okay, how much time do we have? We have 10 more minutes. I think we will have to cut on time. We have a call up.
We have the call right after. Hibiscus Cultivar, you posted a lot of good readings. Would you be okay unmuting yourself and just like giving us like a little bit of a run through? Like what are all those articles and why you chose to put them here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously there's tons of issues with DAOs and their governance. And as we have discussed, before that, not all DAOs are created equal, and there are different ways in dealing with it. It's such a messy subject, and it's areas for contention. So it's just something. It's just something for people to read up on and to determine what's useful at this stage of the game. Because things like the constitutional DAO, where you have one go and one go only, then it's easier to set out the objectives, where you have like MakerDAO, for example, where at one point all subject matters are being voted on, and it didn't make any sense. So it's good to have people like thought leaders like Hasu, for example, discuss the pros and cons of perhaps borrowing some of that from corporate governance. Something that we have thought about over the last 400 years to help. But again, it's a messy subject. But I think the more we read, the more we understand the issues, the more helpful that we can come up with a better solution for different practices.
Oh, thank you so much. And can you actually put all of these in the bookshelf also? I can copy paste it, but I think having your name there would be
actually
nice.
I have a request.
Yeah, sure.
I have a request, Rohan. Would it be possible for you to, because like especially this time I feel we had so many good contributions in the chat, would you be able to log them under the session in Notion as resources? They were like provided by the community, copy out all the links. I know it's a little bit of work, but I feel There were just too
Like on the
many
chat?
good things. Like put them in the Notion directly under session 5.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
You're like, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm sorry. But it feels like there's like so much good stuff.
Yeah, we shouldn't miss this out.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, guys, I think we actually, Rohan is right. We should cut this short because we have to jump right into the next call in like 7-8 minutes. But is there like anything like you feel really passionate about to share as like last words of this session number 5? Also, I'm so proud of you guys. Like this is the full first module. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you so much for preparing all this and, for moderating our sessions. And it's really a pleasure to be part of it. So once again, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Lutra. Thank you. Oh, sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Kat, did you want to what do? Kat, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I just was clicking on a link in the video, so I just unmuted. No, but thank you so much. You guys have been great. I've learned a lot. And did you say something at did you say something that there's something at 4 today?
What?
With that having to do with module 2. I was just looking at the Notion and I haven't seen anything for module 2 posted, and I didn't know. I thought somebody mentioned something at 4 today with like having to do with Python.
Oh, module 2, yeah. Wait, I'm still sharing my screen, right? So we were thinking for next week, let's work through module 2. The first 2 are like mini chapters, which is introduction to automated market makers and an introduction to discovery phase. If we could work through that. So we're trying to organize it in a way where we try to spend like 3 weeks on each module. And so that's kind of the plan. We're splitting like each module into like 3 little parts. Sounds good?
Yeah. Are we able to get access to the next module if we don't complete the test for?
Yeah,
you're good to go. For sure.
Yeah.
You can
also Ali is doing it. Hi, Ali.
What?
There's a new person in our group. I think they entered midway.
Oh,
I'll just
Ali.
say hi.
Yeah, I mean we're really late, but you want to say hi?
Okay. Hello. Nice to meet you all.
Hi. Do you want to share your background? Like just do an introduction, like maybe where you're from?
Actually, I'm not another engineer or any economist either, but I'm really interested in the Web3 and the tokenomics, and so I joined this group. And the visual thing is really important as educating tool, and I live in South Korea, so it's really a good fit for my time. Yeah, and so happy to be here. So it's a question, and I'm actually new to and just interrupting during the session. So what am I supposed to lead for next week?
Yeah, so Ellie, we are recording all of those sessions. Quickly gonna show again. We are recording all of those sessions. So if you go to our little chat here on the sidebar, which says Visual Learner Study Group, right? Up here, you see this little pin button. And on here, you can find all of the former sessions in the Google Drive. And you can find the course link, the Notion, the Notion page, which Roro is taking really, really good care of. Guys, this is like a treasure trove, right? Go there. Like he really puts this together in an exquisite way.
That is like all the sessions, and every session will have all the information and the summary of what we discussed. So like, you can just go through all the previous sessions through that. And I mean, you'll get all the information you need there.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will read. Okay, let me read.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
And also, tag us, this counts for everyone, tag us in the chat if you can find something, right? There is no shame in not knowing yourself, how to know everything in Discord. Just don't feel afraid to just tag us and be like, hey, sorry, but I really can't find this. And we will point you in the right direction, okay? Sounds good? Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, let's go. I think we are on time, and
we have to
all the links. All the links are here if you want them. Okay. Thank you so much. Wait, where do you get them?
Thank you.
Oh, bye. Bye, Dutra.
Bye.
Oh, right. Okay. All of we got his links here.
If you look at the lower section in there, the literature list is broken into two pieces. So the second part, that's 1 through 15. So I think it's 10. It's
very nice.
7 through 15 are the ones that were shared today.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
And then the 2 videos at the bottom were also shared.
Thank you so much. That solves my problem.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye guys.
Let's go.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.